In our previous video, we understood about how to create simple firewall rules based on VLANs or based on individual network on demand, right? So in this video, as a continuation to that, we'll be learning about zones, okay? The zone available in the firewalls. So as said in the previous video, like when you go with or when you create firewall rules based on the network or based on the VLANs, like it would be very difficult to manage and to maintain it when you have a large number of rules. Like if you have only one or two VLANs or one or two network. So if you are trying to build a security policy based on that, it's fine. It's simple to manage, but still for each VLAN you need to have multiple rules, right? But in a production, obviously you'll be having a lot of networks, a lot of VLANs. So in that case, it would be very difficult to manage it based on VLAN or network. So in order to overcome the challenges, in order to overcome that difficulties, zones help us to simplify the process. All right. So before we get into a zone, like before we practically understand how does it work, let's just understand about zones theoretically. Okay. So first of all, zones are the logical grouping of interfaces that share some common security requirements. So this help in managing and enforcing the security policies between different parts of network. So that if you correlate it, like in our previous video, we created means we had a two VLANs, right? VLAN 10 and VLAN 2, and we have created a multiple rule to it. So here in zone, what we'll do, we'll logically group that everything is a one particular zone. Okay, fine. Then going forward. Zones enable us to segment your network in the distinct security domain such as LAN, WAN, DMC, etc. Each with its own security politics. And the security policies can be applied between the zones to control the traffic flow and enforce the security measures. So FortiGate comes with a predefined zones like internal, external, DMZ, etc. Like means generally like this is an old one. Like if you look the latest, like latest codes, we'd be seeing like LAN, WAN, DMC. So internal is nothing but LAN, external is WAN and DMZ, etc. And also it is not limited to only this. That's what it's mentioned, like which can be customized based on your network architecture, and also you can create custom zones to match your specific network requirements and policies. So which means that like the box comes with the defined predefined zone names like LAN, WAN, and DMZ. But if you want to have your own customized, yes, it is possible, right? So policies are typically applied between zones rather than between the individual interfaces, which simplifies the management and ensures a consistent application of security policies across your network. All right. Now, yeah, this is all about the theoretical understanding about zones. Let's now go with the practical. So, in order to understand more about zones, let me, add few more or one. Let's put one thing. Like already we have two zones here, right? Though we have not explored about zone in the previous video, we just made this architecture. Like we have a LAN zone this side, and we have the DMZ zone here, right? Let's go with the one more zone. Let it be in the WAN one. Okay. Let me put one more router here, and let's consider that as a edge router. And from the edge router, let me connect to the internet. Okay. So in order to do so, let me add a node here. Cisco router. All right. Yep. I'll just go with 3725 router. I'll put edge router, and maybe we can put this icon and slot it is empty. It mentioned like we'll just things. Save it. All right. Fine. So now let me power on it. So I'm using commercial edition. Okay, it's a licensed EVNG, so that I'm just directly power on and then later I'll connect it. If you're using a community edition, the free one, ensure that you first connect the link and then power on it. Right. So this is to be connected here, and let me add one. Okay, first I should put a connectivity to here. let's make port 3. Okay, yeah, let's make port 4 as the LAN, because anyway by default port 1 we are using for a management, and for port 2 we are using it for LAN, and port 3 we are already using it for DMZ. Let's put port 4. Okay, so far we have not done any configuration for port 4, and that's the reason it's showing plain. Okay, so once we add alias name it would be, showing the WAN like. All right, so let's keep in this way. Consider that this is the edge router, and obviously we need to have a internet connectivity, right? So in my case, like either you can just put internet, okay, and icon low, means if you're using a licensed version of EVNG, you can directly use this part like NAT. Okay, so when you use this one, you'd be getting an IP address from 172.29.129.0/24 subnet IP from that. Basically, that is again NATed to your management network when it's going to internet. All right. So this is one of the good features that we have in the licensed version. So if in case you are using a non-licensed like a community edition, better use cloud one. Okay, so if you see here when you use cloud one, let me just show my this thing, edit. So actually I'm using this vmnet 8. Okay, so for vmnet 8 I'm using this subnet 192.168.60.0, and this is what we have it for NAT. Okay, so when I choose cloud one, then you'll be getting an IP from this one, the second one. Okay, the NAT one. All right. So, and if you want to make any changes to the subnet, like you can just select this. Means if you're already aware about it, that's fine. And if you're new to this, just select this particular VMnet 8. And if you want to make any changes, you can just click change settings, and yes, it would load. And then see, and one more thing, like by default it would show you only this two, and when you go for the change setting, only then you will see this vmnet 0, which is what the management network or the bridged one we are currently using for management access, right? So just ignore about it because we are already using it for management access. So for VMnet 8, right? Just if you want to select, if you want to make any changes to the subnet or for any of the VMnet, okay, you can just select it, and means like you can change your subnets here. And if you want to change something in the DHCP settings, you can make it from here. And like NAT settings, you can change the default gateway. Okay, it's up to you, like whatever you want to have. You can have it. So like it's for the people who is not having the license. If you're already having a means if you're not having a licensed edition of evng, you can just have this kind of a setup, like you can configure in this way. Then when it comes to here, right, you can just choose this one, okay, cloud one, so that you will get an IP address like means basically you are connecting to the vmnet 8. All right, the NAT one. So as I said, I'm using this one like licensed version, so I'm just going with the NAT. So I'll just click it and show you. And what I'll do, I'll just connect this interface here to, let's see what interface. Yeah, it's connected to F0/1. Okay, just save. Okay, and it's already started. Let's do one thing, like just to show you, like means even if you put cloud one, it will work. What I'll do anyway, I'm going to put this interface like F0/1 as a DHCP only. Like I'm not going to assign any fixed or a static IP here, like internet connectivity. I'm just going to put this interface as a DHCP so that it would get any IP address from this particular subnet, 172 subnet. And as I said, like once it reaches the 172 NAT subnet, again it would get translated to the my home router network. All right. So to the people who is working with the community edition, just to show you that how does it work, like means when you go with the cloud one, it should work, right? So I'll show you how it works. So let's put cloud one just for your just to show you how does it work like. So I'm just selecting cloud one now. So this is just for an testing purpose. I'll be deleting it. This is just to show you that it works, and we'll get an IP address from 192.168.60.0/network. Okay, so I'll just connect it maybe to fast Ethernet 2/0. All right, let's save it. Let's open this. Okay, now we are in this router. So first I'll show this one, and then later we'll go for this actual configuration that's required for this lab. So first I'll just go and show you this Ethernet, right? This fast FA2/0. I'll make it as a DHCP, and you will see that it's getting an IP address from the VMnet 8 subnet. Okay, because sometimes students get stuck there, like they don't know how to connect to the internet connectivity or how they can connect to the VMnet 8, right? So it's for them. And if you're already aware about it, maybe you can just skip few seconds. All right. I'm just configuring it. Internet, fast Ethernet. It's 2/0 or yeah, it's 2/0. Okay, 2/0. No shut and IP address DHCP. So this is a simple way. Uh, I'm sorry, CP IP address. Oh, this is an Alto link. What I'll do then? Mm, okay, show. Okay, it's in config mode. Show IP interface brief. Right. Let me try to configure to this 1/0 then and check. Mm, No, and I'll remove the existing configuration in this interface. Okay, IP address DHCP, and then I'll come out interface fast IP address DHCP. All right. So now to show IP interface brief, if you see now like this interface, okay, it's still in administrative down. Let me unshut it. 0/2. Oh, sorry, 1/0, right? Once 1/0. No shut. All right, now it came up. So do show IP interface brief. See, now it is mentioned as DHCP. Soon we'll be getting an IP address. Let's wait and check. So let's check once again. Still, it didn't get any IP address. Like, okay, so we have configured this DHCP at fast Ethernet 1/0, right? However, like, yeah. So last time we connected this to 2/0. Okay. So we need to modify it. Basically, what we need to do, like, we need to delete it. Right now it's deleted. We'll establish a new link to it, and it should be 1/0. Yeah, it's showing 1/0 now. All right. Let me go back to this router now. See, now it got the IP address from 192.168.60.16. Like basically it's a 60.0/24. Nothing but this one, like as I showed earlier, the VMnet 8 network. Okay. So this one, right? So if you want to have an internet connectivity, better use this way. Like you'll be having one NAT VMnet here. Like basically it's VMnet 8 would be the NAT, and you can means by default you'll be seeing some subnet here. If you want to make a change, you can change it here. And like as I said, uh, here, like when you want to use the same, you should put it as cloud one. Okay, so this one, this option, you'd be seeing this next to the management. Okay, all right. This is I have just did this to show you like it would be getting the IP address from that network only. Okay. And it is having a connectivity to internet. Also, if you want to check that, maybe so ping 888. Okay, I have changed the gateway there in the VMnet 8, and that's the reason now it's actually not connecting. We need to make changes there. Like, let me check. I know the reason, like why it's not, it's why it's unable to reach to the internet, because for some testing, I have changed the default gateway. Like the gateway of, if you see here, show IP route, means it's pointing towards 60.1, right? Actually, 60.1 is not in the VMnet. Okay, it's in the this PC, right? The management PC. Like, I just want to show you here. So by default, like when you're configuring, right, it would be working. So the reason why it is not pinging, like it's not it's unable to reach the internet, is like I tweaked this configuration for some other lab, so for some other reason, and that's the reason it's not working. So I'll just change settings. Mm, I need to go to this VMNAT 8 under that NAT settings. Sorry. And if you see here, the gateway, it's pointing to 192.168.60.1. As I said, 60.1 is something that I have configured here, right? CMD IP config, right? See, 60.1 is something, it's in the PC itself. But in this case, I would like to put up, I should point it towards the gateway at the VMnet 8, right? So this is something within the VM. So I should make it to 2. All right. So one is actual, means one is the gateway in the actual device. I'm just putting it as 2 here, and then click here to apply. Whenever you make any changes, ensure that you're playing it with this option. Select OK here, and then now I'll go back here. So I should bounce the port, else the route will never change. Yeah, still it's pointing to 60.1 only. So what I'll do, show IP interface brief. I think it's fast Ethernet 1/0, right? So here I should bounce the port once to change the route. Hmm, Shit. It would take few seconds. So again, no shut here. Oh, sorry. No shut. Exit. Exit. Show IP interface brief. And it's, yeah, it got the IP, the same IP address. And this time, if I check the route, it should point towards 2. All right. Yes, it's point towards 192.168.60.2. All right. So now let me ping to internet. It should reach. All right. See, I'm getting a response now. Ping 8.8.8.8. All right. So you can ping to anything like 1.1.1.1. All right. So basically, this is how you can establish a connectivity, or you can use the I'll open it. So you can establish the connectivity towards internet for your lab. Okay. With VMnet, like with an VMnet that has the NAT settings. In general, in VMnet 8 in my case. All right. So as I said, like I did some testing and changed the default gateway there, and that's the reason earlier it was not working. And once I changed it, it started to work. Okay. So I have shown you. This is for the people who is using the community edition. All right, the free one. So in my case, actually, I'm going to use the NAT edition. This is the same, like, but this is one of the feature, like added feature in the licensed version. So instead of going with this one, I'm just going with the NAT option that's available in. EVNG itself, in my EVNG itself. Okay, so I'll just delete it here as well. It should show you like how, means when you set up a lab, how to deploy it. Okay, right. So I'll bring the internet here and let's add few things. Best, it's WAN. Okay, it's either you can make it as a WAN zone or external zone. It's completely up to you. Okay, I'll just put it as a WAN zone, and we'll make some this color. Okay, all right. So this is going to be the WAN zone, or I can put this here, and maybe just to avoid confusion, I'll put this IP here. For this LAN part, I'll just put this IPs here. Actually, as you know, these two IPs are configured at port 2, all right? And this IP 50.1 is configured at port 3. And let me put here as a WAN zone. And let's do one thing. Let's also check. Let's use 192.168.10 dot, okay, maybe 10 dot slash 24 for WAN. Okay, WAN. So WAN zone. So with that, that's it. I'll just use 10.1 this side, and let's put it the same color. Okay, it looks good, and duplicate it. Let's put 10.100 this side, the other side. All right, fine. If you want, you can just drag a little. All right, so this 10.100 is at router side, and 10.1 is at port 9 at firewall. Okay, and this is this side, this fast ethernet 0/1 would be a DHCP. So I'll just open this. Okay, last time. Okay, all right. So we have cleared it. Now, if you remember, so IP interface brief. Last time we have made this interface as the DHCP, and means this is just assigned with that. So let's remove that, and we'll put the other interface like 0/1 as the DHCP this time. So going forward, we'll be using the same interface 0/1. So first, let me get into fast Ethernet 1/0, no IP DHCP. Sorry, no IP address DHCP, and it will take few seconds to release that IP. So, so once it's come back, then let's get into fast Ethernet 0/1, and we'll do the same. So basically, this interface fast Ethernet 0/1, IP address DHCP, and no shit. All right. And also in the other interface, like the interface that is connected to the uh, firewall, we need to unshut it, and we need to assign an IP address as per our topology. Okay. So as per our topology, we should put the IP address like 192.168.10.100 at this interface, right? Fast Ethernet 0/0. Interface fast Ethernet 0/0, and I'll make it as like IP address. Oh, sorry. Yeah, IP address. It should be 192.168.10. We should be very clear. Don't get confused. Like for management, we are using 192.168.0.0/24 network. However, for this connectivity, like um, this one, like from a firewall to WAN, the edge router, we are going to use the 192.168.10.0/24 network. All right, fine. 10.100 255.255.255.0. No shit. So that's it. Let's configure the same IP address here in port 4. So in order to configure IP address, going to internet under, sorry, network, under network interfaces, then port 4. Okay, this one. Selecting it, and we're going to use this port for WAN, right? So I'll just name it as like WAN. So once I name it as WAN, I'll be changing the role of port 4 also to WAN, because I'm going to use this particular port to WAN. Right. Then manual. So I'm going to assign IP address 192.168.10 dot, as per our topology, it's 1, right? And also, like, means if you want to connect your router, means like how we connected our internet to this interface and made it DHCP, right? And you can also do the same at this interface as well. Like this thing means how, instead of going for a manual IP address, if you put DHCP, you will get an IP address from that network if the DHCP is running on it. Okay. All right. So it's 192.168.10.1, and the HTTP ping SSH is already enabled on it. Ensure that it is selected and hit OK. So now port 4 with that IP address is configured. Okay. It's WAN. All right. Let's test the connectivity now. Maybe we'll check from here in the router. Exit ping 192.168.10.1. All right. So basically, we're getting a response, which means that from this interface, when we try to connect or reach this one, we are getting a response. So the connectivity between FortiGate Firewall and the router, it's all set. Okay. So it's still mentioned as node 3. Maybe in the next video, we'll edit it. All right. Fine. So now we are getting into the concept of zone. So far, we have just made the topology that would be helpful for us to learn about the zone. Okay. So as I said earlier in the previous video, we created different policies based on VLAN. Okay. When we try to connect from here to DMZ, as well as from DMZ to this particular VLAN. So even for this VLAN, if you consider that if you want to create a policy like all the LAN networks to connect to internet. Okay. If in this case itself, if you have a two VLANs, then you should create two different policies, right? One is from making this VLAN 10 as a source towards internet, and also the other thing is from here towards internet. Okay. If in case it is an LAN to complete DMZ, and if you want communication bidirectional, then in that case, you should write rule number 1 from this VLAN to DMZ, as well as for a return traffic, like return like a new connection from DMZ to VLAN 10. The same for VLAN 20 to DMZ, and the other one DMZ to VLAN 20. So even in the simple topology, you need to create 4 rules, right? But in a production, as I said, when you have more number of VLANs, it's very difficult to manage. So that's the reason. In order to overcome the challenges, now we are going to configure the zone, and we are going to simplify the process. All right. So before getting into the configuration of a zone, I would like to tell one thing. Like whenever you are configuring a firewall policy to allow a traffic, these are all the steps you need to keep in mind. First one, point number 1, we need to ensure the IP address configuration. Okay. When I say IP address configuration, putting the IP address to the not IP address configuration, IP address to the interfaces, like configuring the interfaces with the right IP address. This is step 1. And step 2 is to configure the zone. Like you can group, okay, logically you can group multiple interfaces or network into one zone. So step 1 is assigning IP address to the interface. Step 2 is about zone configuration. Step 3, like uh, about the routing. based on your security policies. If in case it's a directly connected network, last time if you see in the previous video, when we write a security policy to access from LAN to DMZ, we didn't have any routing, because both are directly connected to firewall. However, when you are going to write a policy like this kind of a situation, if you want to put your LAN to reach the internet, right? So in that case, we need to write a route here. Okay, because internet is not directly connected here, right? So in that situation, we need to define a route saying that, see, if this guy is coming to want to connect to the internet specifically, or whatever it is, a default route, we need to put this interface as the next hop. We'll be learning about routing and all in detail in the upcoming videos. I'm just giving an overview in this. All right. So step 3 is about defining a route, and then step 4 is about writing a security policy. And there is some other thing like NAT is involved. That depends on the situation. Like if you want to perform a NAT, you can do it. And as I said, in the upcoming videos, we'll be discussing everything in detail. Don't worry. So I'm just going with this high level step, 4 steps of configuration in this video. Okay. Already we have configured the IP addresses to the interfaces, VLANs are configured, everything is available. So let's start with the zone configurations. I'll just go to firewall, and as per our topology, we want to logically club or add this two network like VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 as a one zone. Okay. So in this scenario, it's a LAN zone. We name it as a LAN zone. So I'll just go here. So in order to configure a zone, it is again the same options. Under network, you'll be seeing interfaces, and under interfaces, if you scroll a little down, you'll be seeing that zone configurations. Okay, means if in case you already have created, you'll see that information here. Or if you want to create a new zones, you'll be seeing this create new, right? Just click it. And last time we were playing with interfaces. This time, like, this is the option you need to select zone. Select zone, and I'll just refresh it. Okay, so once I selected zone, means under interface create zone I put, so that I came to this page. I need to name a zone. Okay, you can give any name to a zone. In my case, as I'm creating it for a LAN network and I already defined the name as LAN zone, I'm just going with the same LAN zone. Okay, all right. And this option is like block intra zone traffic, like zone to zone. Okay, like within a zone. Okay, that's fine. We'll be learning about this in upcoming videos. So now we are creating a zone. So we need to define like what are all the interfaces we need to club together for this zone. So with this interface members, I'm just selected. So here I need to define that my LAN port 2 should be part of this interface, means basically the LAN zone. All right. And also like, let me check. It already has the VLANs, right? Right. So it already has this VLANs, and if I scroll down, if you see here the LAN zone, it is already selected. Let me select it one more time. Generally, like, it's not only about a LAN port. We also should see VLAN 10 and 20 here, like this one, the VLAN 10 and 20 that we have created here, right? That should also be shown here, and we need to clip that as well to this zone. But it is not showing here. That's because, like, I'll just close here for now. If you remember last time when we create a security policy, we define a security policy based on VLANs, right? So that's the reason it's not showing there. Now, what I'll do, I'll just delete all those VLANs, all those security policies. I'll just select all those security policies that we have created in the last video and select deleted. So as there is an already a policy that is running, it is not showing. Okay, I'll just delete everything. Right. Okay. All right. Now all the old policies based on VLANs are deleted. Now, if we go to here to the same page like the LAN zone, right? So earlier when we click this select the plus button, it didn't show our VLAN informations. But this time, if we click here, see, we are seeing it, right? So just select the it. That's it. So it's added. Once you select there, it get automatically added here. And if you can add any required comments based on your requirements, click OK. So scroll down, and in the interface page, just scroll down to see the configure the zone details here. So we have created a new zone in the name of LAN. So this zone name is LAN, and under that means if you type, see the type, it's mentioned as zone, and under that LAN zone we have three components. One is the physical port 2 and the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 that we have created for this port. Okay. So we should be very careful here whenever we are creating a zone. Like we should not only add the physical port, we should also add the VLANs that is part of it, or the VLANs also we should want to club it. Okay. So there will be a lot of misunderstanding. Like if we add only the physical port, the VLANs also get added. No, it won't work in that way. So if you want to add your VLAN as well, we need to specifically add it like this. All right. So now the step two, like the VLAN, sorry, the zone creation is done. All right. Now we need to configure a route. As I said, this as per this topology, we want this LAN users from both the network connect to internet, right? So I need to write a route here. Let me make a default route for this time. I'll just go here. So in order to configure a route, again under network, you'll be seeing something like static routes here. Select this option. I already have it with my old lab, so I'll just delete this and I'll show you how to do it. All right. So select the static routes. In general, when you're doing for the very first time, you won't see anything here. Click this option, create new, then you can make it as like default. Okay, whatever that's coming, just forward it to that destination. Okay, and the default gateway address is like I want to point whatever traffic that's coming from this side to put to this interface, like to put it to this router at this interface that has an IP address 192.168.10.100. So I'll just come here 192.168.10.100. So the interface, like it should go out via the WAN port 4, right? So means it's already selected. As soon as we give the IP address, right, it automatically sends that I means through which port it should go. If you want to add any additional ports, you can add it. So as per our topology, we should all the traffic should go to this particular next hop through this port, right? So that's what it is selected. And administrative distance is 10. Actually, we need to make some changes here. I'll come back. We'll come back here later and I'll show you why we need to make it. All right, fine. So the route is done now. So if we look at the steps, recall the steps. Step one is about configuring the IP addresses to the interfaces. It's done. And step two is about zone configuration. It is done. We have clipped all this, port 2, VLAN 10, VLAN 22, LAN zone. And step three is about defining a default route pointing towards this. That's done. And now we need to define the security policy. I'll just go back here. So in order to do the security policy, it is under the policy and objects section. So the very first option is firewall policy. So here is the place we are going to define a security policy. So by clicking the create new option, we can create a new policy. So let me make this as LAN zone to internet. Okay. Instead, I'll just put this way. LAN zone. Okay, maybe just to avoid confusion. LAN zone to internet. All right. So it's from LAN to internet. All right. So we need to define which is the incoming interface. So earlier, if you remember, we made it as like VLAN 10 or VLAN 20 when we are configuring or when we are creating a security policy based on VLANs. And if you have an IP address for that specific port, then in that case, you can define the physical port. But now this time, as we are creating a zone, we should go based on zone. Okay, so the incoming interface is not a physical port or a VLAN, but this time it is zone, LAN zone. Just select the LAN zone and outgoing interface, make it as WAN. Okay, you're telling that this LAN zone is the incoming and outgoing is through the port 4, which is the WAN. Right, then again, source, let it be any. So I will put all for source and all for destination 2. So all right, and services is all. Action set to be accept. NAT, we don't need to have it for now. Let's understand about NAT in detail in the upcoming video. So I'll disable it. Okay. All right. So the required rule is done. If we go back here, if you try to reach from any of this machine, either from this PC or from this server, if you try to reach to the internet, will it work? It won't, because like when you try, like say for example, from this machine, if you try to ping to 8.8.8.8, which is in internet, the request will come. Obviously, the default gateway is pointing towards this interface, so all the traffic would be coming here. And we also have a default route pointing towards this interface, so it would go here, and from there it would go to the internet. And on the return traffic, once it reaches the router is not known. Like router doesn't aware who is 172.16.10.100, right? So for that, for a return traffic to reach to the right destination, we need to define a route here in the edge router. I just open it. So let's give a name to it, like host name WAN router. Okay. All right. So I need to define a route here. IP route 172.16, maybe for both, like both 172.16.10 network and 20 network. I'll make 172.16.10.0 slash 24, right? So it's 255.255.255.0. And what should be the next hop? The next hop should be uh, this interface, like 192.168.10.1, that is at the firewall, right? This interface. So 192.168.10.1. Right. Same, we should do a route for the other network, like the VLAN 20 in the LAN side. All right. So now we have the route for the same. Show IP route. All right. So now we have the route. So this is the directly connected, and apart from that, these two are the route that we have defined. And if you remember, like last time I was telling, we'd be getting IP from this subnet, like 172.129.129 for this interface, right? When you're using a licensed version of EVNG, this is the inbuilt one. Okay, you'd be getting an IP address from there. Show IP interface brief. I think we didn't see that earlier. We just checked for the VMnet 8, but I didn't show you for this one. See, so this is the IP address that I have received from the NAT one. Okay, and if you try to reach internet from here, it should reach. All right, see, from this router, I'm going to internet. Actually, technically, how it works, like this is, as I said, this NAT network is an inbuilt in the licensed EVNG, and it's getting translated again to the management network only. Means when I say management, my home network, the home router network. All right. So from here, I have a connectivity towards the internet. All right. So now we have defined it, right? So when we try to connect from here now to the internet, we have a default route. So it comes here. We have again a default route here to point here. So the request comes here. It would go to the internet, and again on the return traffic. Now we the router, the WAN router now knows who is 172.16.10.0. So in order to reach that, it should pass this to here, and so that the return traffic would come. But still, we need to make one small changes, okay, for this lap topology. Because if you remember, when we configure a default route in FortiGate, there was something like administrative distance, right? So if you see here, network static route. Okay, so if you see here, let me, yeah, administrative distance. So the administrative distance of it is 10. Okay, already there is an inbuilt default route that is pointing towards that's a inbuilt or a default one. As soon as you commission the machine, it would get that default route towards your management network. Okay, like this one, management network 192.168.0.1. All right. Maybe I can show you with this. We can just check it from the CLI, like here, right? The CLI console. If you use the command, I think get router info routing table all. You can put question mark also to check. Okay, so if you see here, by default, there is a gateway route, like a default route pointing towards the management subnet. Okay, the subnet which we are using in the home router, right? 192.168.0.1. So if you also, so that's the reason, like even though now you have a route configured, if you try to connect from here to there, your request will not actually pass the, the firewall due to that. Okay, maybe I can show you. So if config, all right, so now it's having 172.16.10.100 IP address, right? So if I just go one by one, step 172.16.10.1, I'm getting response. This interface is connected in the firewall, right? Now if I try to reach ping the WAN router 192.168.10.100, right? See, it is not passing to it. It's not even reaching the WAN router. Like even if you put the, oh, I'm sorry, I just put the incorrect IP. Ping 192.168.10.1. I'm getting a response from the WAN port at the FortiGate. Okay, if I put this one, still I'm getting, it's reaching, right? What happens if I try to connect to ping 888? See, I'm not getting any response. All right. So at the same time, like this is because, as I said, it is pointing towards the management subnet. So what we need to do, uh, and like I'll just make this as administrative distance 10 to 1. Okay, I'm just modifying the administrative distance of the route that configured. Now hit OK. Now I'll go back here. Let's see what happens. So still it's not happening. That could be of multiple reasons. Let's check now why it's not happening. IP around show. It has a default route. Okay, we don't have any issues till this point, right? Let me check the routes here again. Show IP. So I have a route for 172.16.10.0 and the next hop it's pointing towards 192.16.10.1. 10.1, I just ensure that IP address is configured correctly. 192.168.10.1/24. All right. I do also have a security policy. Let me verify it once. LAN to zone, and I made the incoming as a LAN and outgoing as a WAN port. Source all except, and it's set to OK, right? So everything seems to be perfect. Let's check once again. Like we check here. Already we have a gateway here configured. There is no issue from here to here. And also when we try to connect from here to this point, till this point we are getting a response, right? But when we tried from here to internet over this way, like it's getting okay, let's confirm one thing, like whether this actual traffic when we try to connect to internet, is it reaching to this node, the router, or not? So if it is reaching to this node, to this interface, then obviously there is something in the what to say, the NAT, the inbuilt NAT solution. All right, yeah, I'm sorry. That's because like when we use the inbuilt NAT function, we should configure a IP NAT route, like the NAT, the router too. Okay. All right, now I got, maybe I can show you that. Like, what I'll do, I'll just capture it. I think this is the interface it's connected, right? 0/1, 0/1. If we try to initiate again a ping, we should see the request is actually should be going out. Like, just I'm capturing the traffic at this interface, okay? and we should see the ICMP traffic that should be passing this WAN router, but we'll be facing an issue. We'll not get a response to it. Okay. If that is the case, then we should go with the NAT configurations here. Ready to load capture. It would take few seconds to load. See, now it came. Like, of course, yeah. If you see here, right, we have traffic going from both, like 172. I just initiated a ping from the other machine as well, like from this one as well. So if you see here, like from 172.16, 10.100 and 20.100, that it's going to 8.8.8.8, but we don't get any response, right? So all ICMP echo message is going, the request is going, but we don't get any response to it. So there is one thing, like when we use this particular NAT feature, we need to configure the NAT feature at the router as well. Okay. Maybe I'll do one thing. Either I can, there are two options. Either I can configure the NAT here, or else I can just delete this and I can use the same VMnet 8 option. Okay. Maybe I think that would be good because like most of the people would be using the same community edition. So I think it would be good if I use the same. It's easy for me as well to show you. So the cloud one, as I showed earlier, I'm using the same one, and so let it be the left side. I'll connect it now again. Let's connect to the same network, sorry, same interface, that's 0/1, because it's already in the DHCP mode, right? I think the only thing we need to do is like we need to bounce the port once. Um, Last time it was having this IP, and yeah, still it's using the IP from 172 series. So what let me do? I will interface first Ethernet 0/1 shutdown and no shut. So once I put no shut, then it would get an IP from 190 to 160, 60.0/24 network, and immediately like we would be seeing here a response. Okay, means it should get the IP address. As soon as it gets the IP address, we'll be seeing response here. See, as I said, right? If you see here, the left side, so far it was not reaching to the internet, right? Now it is reaching to the internet. Okay. So the issue that we identified is that that's the limitation of the NAT feature that is available in the licensed version. So it doesn't mean that it should not work or it will not work. It will work, but we need to configure some, the NAT functions here in the router. All right. So that's the reason it was not working earlier. So as soon as we made the VMNet 8 here, it's reaching to the internet. Now, if you get the capture and check the same this fast Ethernet 0/1, we'll be seeing both ICMP echo request and response from the destination. Ethernet, it's loading now. All right. See, we see both request and response, like 172, 160, 16.10.120.100 it's going. So maybe I'll just pass it, stop it for that's it. So if you see here, like 172.16.10.100, okay, this is an ping request, right? The ICMP request message that's going out to the internet, and this is the response from the internet, from the destination in the internet. It's coming back to this one. Last time we were seeing only the request is going out, the response is not coming back. That's due to the limitation of the NAT that I'm using earlier. So now, as soon as I was using the VMNet 8, which is available in the community edition as well, the free edition as well, it started to work. All right. And if someone is using the licensed version, please ensure that, yes, of course, when you are using the NAT feature, it would work. Like, but when you build a topology like this, ensure that you add a NATing configuration here as well. You put IP NAT inside of this interface, IP NAT outside of this interface, and you can add an IP, access list to it, and you can make fixed NAT. So if you put that, it would start to work. Okay. All right. Fine. So this is how we need to configure a zone. Like as I said earlier in the starting, like in the upcoming videos, we'll be learning about the technology and all the concepts in detail. Okay, this is just an overview, and in this video, we understood about zones.